Well, this is the first of our videos about Inquirers courses, and I'm really happy to have my good friend Jenny Stuart with me today. Jenny, welcome. And maybe you'd like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, will you?
I will introduce myself. I'm happy to do that. And thank you, Tim. This is such a gift to be able to do this, to share with participants that have taken the lay evangelism course that I've already taken and loved.
Mm.
So I was always a cradle Anglican. I always knew, I never any doubt that Jesus loved me. My parents, however, were not churchgoers. So all I basically got was my Sunday school on Sunday, and then as I got a little bit older, we had religious knowledge in school. But other than that, we didn't pray at home. We didn't do anything at home. So, and Sunday was always my favorite day of the week, always.
Mm.
The school teachers were amazing. I felt loved by them. I felt loved by the whole church community. And often I got to read in church. And I was only like 6 years old, but I used to think that was something special. So my initial childhood was lovely. Then as I matured and I came to Canada, certainly because I fell away from the church in my teen years, but when I came to Canada, and I attended church regularly every Sunday, and I realized that my faith was still very childlike. It was from my childhood, and there was no substance to it. And I attended a few women's retreats at St. Matthew's, and I realized that lots of those women had something I didn't have. And it bugged me, and I wanted it. They seemed to know God and Jesus differently to my childhood God and Jesus. And so when our parish priest, she talked about this course called Alpha. And it was almost like that Sunday morning, she was just talking to me. There was nobody else in the church, just me. And she didn't know much about it, just a bit of basics. And she encouraged people from our parish to take it. So four of us stepped forward and said, okay, we're prepared to do it. And of course, we couldn't do it in our church because we weren't trained. And so each of us went to a different church to take this Alpha course. And then when we were finished it, we came back as 4 people with our priest and said, okay, we've all got ideas of what this course is. And they were all very different experiences. Mine was very different to the other 3 that went to 3 different churches. But I knew at that point in time, I was thirsty. I needed to know more, and I needed to help others know more. And I also realized that there are lots of people today who know God, who know Jesus as people, but they don't know about the Christian faith. It's very narrow. And mine was very narrow, and it wasn't really working for me. And I knew friends that were from a different denomination, and they was always able to talk about their faith and share their faith. And I wasn't comfortable in doing that. I think that's a pretty Anglican thing. Anyway, we then decided that we were going to do this course because every one of us had a life-changing experience. We just felt different. So the purpose of Alpha, what we realized was there's a reason for it. Why do we do it? And it was created to emphasize the essentials that all denominations agree on. Because the purpose is to provide a way to look at what unites us as being infinitely greater than what divides us. And that was huge for me because there are often divisions within the church. And I'm not always agreeable with that because I've got friends from all kinds of Christian denominations that we're a lot similar. And it's an effective form of evangelizing, I realized after I'd taken it. And when introduced and given through a local church and focusing on the essentials of the Christian faith, Alpha opens the doors to be used in any context so that those involved have the opportunity to see not just themselves, but afterwards their friends and families' lives transformed by their experience. And so that was one of the reasons we decided. St. Matthew's Church was a pretty active church at the time. but there was work to do. And I think our priest at the time knew that there was work to do. She was very much a person of encouraging lay people. And Alpha was designed to take people off, the guests that came, on a journey of faith, and to engage people from all walks of life, to inspire conversation. And it's conducted over approximately 11 weeks. And each session covers a key element of the gospel in a way that's easy to follow and leaves space for people to explore the big issues of life and faith and unpack the basics of a Christian belief. So the first few times I participated in Alpha, and that was as a leader by that time, because we had to have leaders lead our first Alpha in our church. And we at that time listened to talks, and some of them were a little bit boring because it was one person talking most of the time. Now it's organized in a film series, and we at St. Matthew's have done that new course, and I much prefer that course. It's way more interactive. They have a couple of young people in it, as well as the original leader, who is Nicky Gumbel, and he's a Brit and he is a priest. But these young people are exciting, and they motivate people through their excitement and through the places they visit, introducing people. And then I just found it way more exciting. So did the people who'd done it before at St. Matthew's, but we also had a lot of new people at this one because our church had grown and changed. So we at St. Matthew's, when we decided to do the first one, which was the old talk series, we wanted to follow the format that Alpha recommend. So they recommend that you start with a meal, a very simple meal. And we brought those meals, and we had a team that just did the meals and served and what that did was that gave people a level of safety when they first came, where we could have fellowship. We didn't talk about God much. We just had fellowship. We got to know the people. And that was really special. And then after the first 2 weeks, because our priest at the time had a music ministry, she suggested that we bring music in, not the first 2 weeks, but the third week, because a lot of songs open up people's hearts. Music speaks to a lot of people, whereas perhaps watching a video doesn't, but words do. And certainly for me, that's true. And then after the videos, we broke into small discussion groups, and we were very careful not to put husbands and wives together, because we felt people often shared, unless they chose, but they often share better when their spouse is not there. And it gives people an opportunity to ask deep questions. And I know I never felt safe asking a priest a question when I was younger, or even as I matured. I felt a bit stupid, because I thought, well, surely they think I know that if I'm a churchgoer. What I realized was a lot of people have questions that they've never asked, and this created a safe place to ask. And none of us were experts. We just kind of asked questions back, and the group asked questions back, so that they could explore themselves without us telling them this is how it is. And so they left, and we told them there's no stupid questions, because if they don't share, then we don't know. They've got relevant questions, and in order to make those questions relevant and answered by our group, then they need to share. And that's what we did. And some of the small group people took time to open up. They were processors, and they didn't open up necessarily the first week. Some talked on and on and on, and we had to be mindful that they didn't cover the whole conversation, because we tried to make the groups no less than about eight to 10 people. And then included in that, and what I loved about Alpha is it's lay-led. So our priest did come, but she didn't come into any of the small discussions. She was there as a resource person. If anyone had questions, or they had asked things that we couldn't help them with, and we felt they needed to get the support of somebody with way more knowledge, especially if they were struggling with something personal that we felt was a priest's job to do. And so that was very special. There is also included in that, you can have a weekend away, or you can have a day. We've done both at our parish. I liked the weekend away, because you're living in premises, you're not caught up in your home and you're on space. And on that weekend, the topics are very far more intimate. And that's when we needed the priest to be most present, because people were really in depth at that point in time, and it's a good chunk way through the course, so it was very important. And the videos we watched, and we met weekly, that was important, we meet weekly. So the video we watched, they covered topics such as, is there more to life than this? Who is Jesus and why did he die? How can I have a faith? Why and how do I pray? And why and how should I read the Bible? Or even if I should read the Bible, how does God guide us? And I think many of us never knew that we could actually hear God. He was just somebody far away. At least that's how I thought of God. And then on the weekend away, or the day away, we focused on the Holy Spirit. So who is the Holy Spirit? What does the Holy Spirit do? And how can I be filled with the Holy Spirit? And many of us at that weekend wanted to have that in-depth feeling of the Holy Spirit. It was almost like it was a well-kept secret, and we wanted to know about the Holy Spirit, how it works. And they opened doors for me that I never thought existed as a layperson. I thought that was just privileged to priests or deacons or bishops or whatever. Some of the other topics were, how can I make the rest of my life? So kind of, where do I go from here? How do I resist evil? Because it's prevalent everywhere. And the one that most inspired and encouraged me and really motivated me was, why and how should we tell others? Because that had been a challenge for me. People knew I went to church, but that was about it. And I think that's a topic that most Anglicans struggle with. We're not too great at sharing what we believe. And I think we feel that we should know it all before we share. And I definitely tell my friends, I'm still learning. And then as a result of the video on the topic of does God heal today, because I think people believe there isn't healing today, then it certainly doesn't come from God, I became very involved with St. Matthew's prayer group. And that helped me discover more about the power of prayer and God's healing grace. And I'm still involved with that prayer group. And the final video is about, what about the church? So again, is the church relevant, and is it important for me to be active in a church community, or can I just be a Christian by not being part of a community? And I found out that no, I couldn't. And basically, that's the basics of Alpha. It's a very interactive course, and I watched as week after week went by. And our very first Alpha, we had 47 people attend, which we didn't even begin to ask or imagine. We just never believed that is what would happen. And we had several groups, and they got close to one another. And again, that nobody was frightened about asking questions. We all wanted to enrich our lives, and we found this and a tool to be able to do that. So I don't know if that's given you enough information about the actual context of the course.
I think that's really helpful, Jenny. So it sounds to me, I mean, there's one thing I love about Alpha is there's the sort of, for want of a better word, the intellectual content, which is to do with the sort of the teaching and all that kind of stuff. But it's also very experiential, isn't it? You know, how
very
you're
much
kind of
so.
Leading people into a deeper experience of God and an experience of community and the touch of God on their lives and things like that. So can I just ask you, I mean, you've been involved in lots of Alpha courses
many
over the years. Have they mainly been people already inside the church, or has it reached out beyond the church as well?
No, when we did our first one, we advertised, and we got people from the community. I think we even advertised in the paper, the St. Albert paper. We put a billboard outside. We got a big Alpha sign and we put it outside the church. And we had people that we didn't even know. Some invited friends and family. Some people came and they didn't stay at St. Matthew's, but they did go find another church, perhaps in the area they lived. And some even took Alpha back to their own churches. I think we had a couple there from the Alliance Church, and they took that back to their church. So again, very non-denominational. It really can be for anyone.
Yeah. So you've got an opportunity for people who are active church members perhaps to dig into their own faith more and encounter God in a more experiential way, but also a good tool for reaching out to people who are not actively involved in a church, or perhaps are just not even Christian yet, but are interested and willing to, because it is a bit of a time commitment, isn't it? I mean,
it's a very big time. And when we did one after the other and after the other, it was a huge time commitment for those that went on more than one team.
Yeah.
And I led the whole course. Like I led the weekend, and I led each week as well. At our initial course, I didn't do. One of our other parishioners, who actually was the representative for Western Canada, in Western Canada, and so he was very involved. But he got sick, and he got sick on the Holy Spirit weekend. And I said to our priest, I can't lead that. And she said, yes, you can. I said, there's no way, I'm not equipped to do that. And she said, no, you're not, but God is. Well, that weekend was an incredible experience, and I realized that I don't have to rely on me. It's God.
Yeah.
And that again opened up another door for me, because I wanted to take the accolades for myself, and I really know this is about giving everything back to God. But it was a powerful weekend, and that gentleman stayed active in Alpha, but he never continued leading at St. Matthew's.
That's lovely, isn't it? It's just giving people, ordinary Christians, the confidence to be able to step forward and to use their gifts, and I'm sort of I'd like to bet that at those table groups, it's a really disarming thing for a table group leader to say, that's a question that I don't really know the answer to.
Oh, and I did that lots.
Because
I remember one participant said, so you're telling me that evil people can go to heaven? And I said, well, my understanding is yes, because we don't know what happens when they die and they have that opportunity at that point in time to give their life to Christ. So she said, so I can be a Christian all my life and a good Christian, and then I can be in heaven with someone like Hitler. And I said, maybe. But I believe that. I can't not believe it. My parents weren't church, but my mum's already let me know she's in heaven through a very clear message. So I believe that, she was a good woman, and she sent me to church, which was one of the best gifts she ever gave me. But yeah, she wasn't a churchgoer.
But it's a disarming thing, isn't it? I mean, I found that too in conversations with people who are not Christians, and they'll ask me, what about this? Like, why do bad things happen to good people, or whatever like that, right? And when I say, what, that's a really tough question, and I don't know if I have a really satisfactory answer to that question, I find that just really lowers the temperature, right? Because people just lets people know, oh, you're a human being like us. You don't think you have all the answers, and so we can be involved in so that's a lovely thing. I really like that.
I've had that question answered me, like, how good things happen, bad things happen to good people. I said, yeah, bad things have happened in my life.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
And they create a lot of pain in my life, but that pain's gone now. I don't have any. What I needed to do was forgive some people, but there's no pain attached to any of that. So now my life has way more joy in it, because there's nothing attached to that. But again, I have to say, you have to embark on your own journey, because it's different from mine.
So just say a little bit about the resources that are available, Jenny, because one of the lovely things about Alpha is that you really don't have to make it up from scratch, do you? I mean, there's not just the video material, but there's all kinds of other resource material as well.
Correct.
Can you say a bit about that?
Absolutely. So the new course now, you can actually go onto the Alpha website. And on the website, you can actually, I think you have to kind of register, but you can actually see the videos. And I would recommend, if somebody's going to think about doing this church, that they pick 4 people or somebody that's willing to be on a team that they can watch those videos together and have their own discussions so they know what to expect. It equips them for when they open the doors for the public to come in, or their own parishioners. And even for the parish priest to watch as well, I think it's very important that they have that knowledge, that basic knowledge, because we had to meet, once you get your team together, we had to meet to train. There's video training tools as well. And I would be happy to help any other church in their training, in going and helping with the training, because they would have questions and hopefully I can support answering those. But those training sessions are very important. We would pray first, and then we would, you know, it was very much an important part of our ministry at St. Matthew's that we had the team well equipped.
Another real advantage of Alpha is that it's a recognized brand, right?
It is and it's been around for years. Like I took mine in 1997.
Yeah.
And as a result of that course, a Bible study started, and that Bible study is still going since 1997, and I'm still part of it.
Lovely.
It's changed. People have come and gone because they've moved away, but that Bible study group is still active.
I think it's lovely how Alpha's changed over the years, because a lot of people don't know that when it first started at Holy Trinity Brompton, before Nicky Gombel's time, the Alpha material was just a set of leaders' notes, right? And
it was.
And when the first, and this is pre-video, when the first tapes were produced, you weren't actually supposed to use the tapes in the group. You were supposed to use the tapes to help guide the speaker who was going to do the presentation. Right?
None of us felt confident doing that. We had to watch those videos, and when we enjoyed them, but people said I didn't agree with him, and I'd say, yeah, there's some things he said I didn't agree with.
Yeah.
But it's we need to get the essence of it, not focus on what you don't agree with, but focus on what's most important and relevant for you. I actually had the opportunity to go to Holy Brompton in London when I went visiting, and that church, wow, is that church ever alive? It's a huge church, and it was packed.
Yeah. So as we come to a close of our interview, Jenny, is there anything else, any other advice that you would give to people who are thinking about using Alpha as an outreach tool in their church community?
Yeah, I would say don't hesitate to open the door. Don't be frightened. We were all pretty petrified, and because none of us felt equipped, none of us. But it equips itself. Alpha equips itself. It's so user friendly, and especially with the videos, the new videos with the young people touring around London and interviewing people. And they ask people, like when we did it the first few times, they asked people, so who do you think Jesus is? Well, some people would say, I don't know. We actually would chuckle, but they went round the streets of London and other areas, I believe, just interviewing people, saying, you know, do you have a faith, or is God real, or like those kind of questions, or do you read the Bible? Well, I can tell you, I used to think the Bible was pretty boring. I heard it on Sunday, but did I pick one up afterwards? No. Did I pray? No, in church on Sunday, or when I needed to pray to God to help me with something important. Now, if I don't have my morning routine of prayer, readings, devotionals, meditation on what I read, my day doesn't go well. It's part of my daily routine and a little bit of my nightly routine. But yes, and I think that those kind of, like Alpha is a course that is going to open the doors to create more of a spiritual reality in your life, and then you can help others. Like you can't help others if you don't know kind of where your own faith is.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons I took the lay evangelizing course. Like how am I going to take this step to help people who don't know God?
Super. Well, thank you very much for this, Jenny. This has been
my pleasure.
Really.
And again, if anyone is thinking about bringing it to the church, and we know of anyone, I would be more than happy to share some knowledge within that church group to help them go forward.
And for those who may be watching our video today, if it's okay with you, Jenny, I'll put your email address in the comments there, so that
absolutely, if they've got if anyone's got extra questions, I'd be more than happy to encourage them and work with them.
Super. Well, thank you very much.
All right, my pleasure. Thanks a lot.